What's up, all my nerds and nerdettes? Welcome to the new year. I don't think anyone would argue against me that 2020 was a pretty terrible year. It brought on a big global thingy that I can't name unless I want to be demonetized, and well, among other tragedies. So I don't think it's any secret to some of my friends that I am a fan of hack and slash online RPGs. Games like Titan Quest, Path of Exile, and the granddaddy of them all, Diablo. I absolutely love those games, especially Titan Quest. Anyways, today we are going to talk about a futuristic hack and slash action online multiplayer RPG called Killsquad.
Killsquad. 12 hands, 12 feet. 24 reasons to die.
No, not that Killsquad. This Killsquad. Crazy enough though, Killsquad released as an early access title all the way back on July 16th, 2019, with the game still being in early access to this day. One day I was scrolling through Facebook, reading a bunch of dank memes from all my homies, and I saw a little ad in the corner of my screen. No, it wasn't an advertisement talking about your mum, but rather an ad talking about Killsquad. The ad I saw intrigued me, so I took a look at it on Steam. Figured it would be a fun time since it was on sale and took it for a spin. Thankfully, the game did not disappoint as it was actually a pretty fun little title. As a fan of action hack and slash online games, Killsquad was a pretty fun time, but does it do enough to actually really set itself apart from other titles I mentioned? The heavy hitters in the genre, if you will. The developers of the game described that they wanted to have a game that takes skill and party play more into account rather than straight progression through levels. Do they succeed in this aspect though? Well, let's talk about Killsquad and see if it's worth giving a shot. Killsquad is pretty simple. You play as one of the playable bounty hunters taking on contracts from different factions. Each completed contract will open up more contracts that the bounty hunters can choose from to participate, and ultimately leading to different levels of difficulty. Each mission will have an objective for you to complete, typically being to fight a boss or escort an NPC. Like other action RPGs, the game has a very simple interface. Movement is controlled via WASD rather than the mouse. You only have a few abilities to use in your kit, but combat is still very action-oriented. Each character has a basic attack, 3 abilities, and an ultimate. And yes, you can use a controller as well.
Thank you, Jesus!
You also have a dodge and consumable items that you can swap out before a mission. The consumables in particular having a ton of different things to choose from. There are currently 4 playable bounty hunters, with more supposedly in development. Troy is the Gunslinger, a DPS bounty hunter that focuses on ranged combat. Cosmo is the Revenant, a tank hero that plays a lot like the Barbarian from Diablo. Cass the Warrior Nun, a quick katana-wielding melee damage dealer, and finally Zero, the main healer bounty hunter who uses traps and an electric rifle. Each hunter obviously fulfills a role. Troy and Cass are your 2 main DPS characters. Cosmo is a tank and Zero is a healer. Each character also has specific skills that can be changed or augmented during gameplay, which I suppose is something that should be talked about now. Killsquad's progression works a bit differently than your standard action RPG. Normally in other games like Diablo or Titan Quest, your character levels up, earns gear from loot, and maybe chooses skills from a talent tree. Killsquad has a different progression system. Instead of vertical progression, Killsquad has a more horizontal progression scheme. During each mission, your character levels up by defeating enemies up to a maximum cap of 10. Every even level allows you to choose a new perk, with your ultimate skill being unlocked at level 6, but your level is reset back to 1 when the mission ends. Progression is instead found in individual character ranks and gear score, aka vector in this game. Since the levels aren't permanent, each mission you can change how each character plays, since each even level will present you with several perk choices that can completely change how your character plays during that mission compared to one you might have played earlier. This gameplay style mimics how MOBAs work, where each match players are building up their levels during the beginning of the game game and then eventually going towards a centralized objective. Individual character ranks are rewarded for playing a character for multiple missions, which unlocks various different things like cosmetics, profile pictures, and item slots. Gameplay can be summed up as such. You pick a character to play, choose a mission from the contract map depending on what you have unlocked, choose whether you want to play it privately, host a game where other players can join it, or join a game already in session. It's that simple. Jump into the mission, and around 10 to 15 minutes later, you are done. The game has a very easy jump in and jump out gameplay hook, which is great, and multiplayer is probably some of the easiest I've seen in this genre. Normally in other games, you would have individual hosted rooms that you join that kinda give you an idea of what the players in that room want to do. Or maybe there is a central hub where you would try to gather a party together, which probably took a bit of time to get going. Killsquad is literally just choose a mission, and within minutes you are playing, which I absolutely love. Harkening back to the gear system, Killsquad is described to follow a similar system that Destiny employs. Your characters have a gear score called Vector, which is a summary of essentially how powerful your equipment is and specifies what difficulty missions your player can survive. Equipment can also be upgraded using items you find in missions. Upgrading items will unlock the extra perks listed on that item when reading its description. Weapons specifically also have a dedicated element like fire or electric. Each element will be useful against certain enemies and is listed in the mission description, so it's best to use what is recommended per mission. Besides weapons, you also have 2 armor pieces that will provide various things like extra health, armor, elemental resistances, extra experience per kill, more currency, etc. Lastly, there is talismans that your character can craft as armor to equip. So in total, not a very complex equipment system or crafting system, which just keeps adding to the game's simplicity. The main selling point is the not so simple action combat, which the developers say requires skill to master.
Y'all got skills?
When I say skill, I mean Twitch gameplay. Much of the combat can turn into bullet hell situations where there is tons of enemies on the screen, or boss mechanics where you have to dodge specific abilities indicated by the red flooring. By no means is it ridiculously hard, but I do appreciate that the game does have these mechanics set in place for future content to build itself upon, which leads to some of my concerns for the game: future content. While the gameplay loop is solid here, having simple jump-in gameplay with its current simple yet deep mechanics, I am concerned for the game's lastability. The game released about a year and a half ago at the time of this video. Currently, most endgame content consists of harder bosses and missions, with the current hook being getting better and better gear, unlocking all the current cosmetic rewards, and maxing out each faction. I am hoping that the game has meaningful endgame content that will keep players coming back eventually, as currently the game is everything I've explained here. The higher the levels are, the more difficult the missions become, sure, introducing more and more mechanics as well as some variety in mission types, but nothing to write home about. Eventually, I would love to see something unique to the genre, to really make this game stand out. Something like raids that allow you to play with more than a 4-person party. Maybe an open world hub where players can go out and take part in open world events since they want to mimic a Destiny vibe, and finally maybe add a proper PvP mode since most ARPGs don't even bother with it, and since the game has more horizontal progression than vertical progression, I can see PvP actually working in this game. Thankfully, the game is still in early access, meaning that all my concerns with the game can be completely fixed upon full release. The game is only a flat fee of $20 to get into the early access, with the game typically going on sale pretty often. It also, at least at the time of this video, has 0 microtransactions, so for $20 you get the full game. Lastly, let's talk about the music and graphics real quick. The graphics for Killsquad is pretty top-notch since the game is built in Unreal Engine. Many of the environments you will see have bright colors, particle effects, and lighting that can look downright gorgeous for the isometric angle the game is locked in. I will say though that the enemy design is kind of lackluster, but there is plenty more coming on the horizon, so I can't complain too much. Sound design is satisfactory. The game isn't going to have a rock and beat tune that you will be humming for weeks like other titles. Instead, it has more ambient tracks that make sense for the genre, although I can say that the lobby theme is pretty enjoyable. Other sound effects in the game are pretty great, but they sound incredibly familiar to other games built in the Unreal Engine. Most likely they are placeholders or just using assets within the engine, but it is something that I wanted to bring up. Anyways, guys and gals, let's get to my final thoughts. Killsquad is a great game that you can just turn on for a quick session and hop off. It definitely has that quick jump in and jump out action that other games in the genre don't really have, so if you want something you can play in small bursts, Killsquad is a good choice for that. For a game that touts skill-based action combat, I think it does a good job of nailing it. Certain fights can be downright hectic with tons of mechanics and enemies to fight, so combat really does have that sense of excitement to it. And with the way you can customize characters during matches with armor pieces, elemental weapons, and perks, the combat does have a good basis to build upon. The current game has quite a lot of unlockables to strive for, with more on the way. So if you like games that have lots of little collectibles to earn as you play, Killsquad has plenty of that. While the game only has 4 characters to choose from, the bounty hunters do feel very distinct from one another. There is more on the way, thankfully, with the engineer class coming in early 2021. For being an early access title, the game was relatively bug-free for me, which is much more than I can say compared to other early access titles that feel broken or just downright unplayable. I have to commend the team for having a pretty polished product here, especially this early in development. Lastly, the game has a great community from what I've seen. The players I jumped in a match with were friendly and everyone seemed to be having a genuinely good time. This is definitely a huge positive since the game has a very cooperative based gameplay hook, and with how easy it is to join multiplayer, I can see the game building a large community of players. Unfortunately, with all the positives I can speak about the game, it does have its glaring shortcomings. Currently, since the game is in early access, I am aware that a lot of the things are subject to change, but the game does seem a bit light on content right now. The current game is finish out the current missions and grind gear levels. Once you hit the gear score cap, there really isn't much to do except play another hero and unlock all the cosmetic rewards. Fortunately, there is a roadmap to give players some excitement, but for how long the game has already been on the market, it does feel like a glorified demo at the moment. Obviously, as I stated earlier in the video, there is no PvP in the game. Once again, I am hoping that with enough development and feedback, the developers can potentially add a player versus player mode, since really there hasn't been any major ARPG titles that have had meaningful PvP. Okay, I know earlier I said that the 4 playable characters feel unique, but I can't help but feel that there should be more characters by now. I know, more are coming, but it is a bit of a turnoff seeing that there isn't a ton of character diversity, at least not yet. Reading online other people's reviews seems like this has been an issue since day one, but the game does sometimes have some pretty terrible lag. Some games I'm completely fine where everything is great, the game is snappy and responds to my actions. Other times I am rubber banding all over the place and it feels like I can barely play the game. I'm not sure if it's Killsquad servers having issues or something, but it is worth mentioning. Horizontal progression rather than just leveling up characters and having cool vast talent trees can turn off quite a lot of people who are fans of this genre. I can see what the developers are trying to do here. They want to have a fresh, unique take on the ARPG formula, but it will turn off veterans of games like Diablo or Path of Exile. Lastly, I am concerned about the game's lifespan. From everything I've found about the game, there hasn't been any mention of it being free to play upon full release, or if it plans to be released on consoles in the future. Honestly, I think if the game is going to survive versus other action RPGs out there, it needs to be free to play with a very modest cosmetic cash shop. Maybe even a battle pass system and or release fully cross-platform with consoles. This game could be a perfect couch co-op quick PC ARPG to play with friends, but it needs the wide playability that free-to-play and cross-platform support can give. Hopefully something like that is planned in the future, otherwise I do hope the developers can find ways to continue its current support past release. And that is all of my thoughts on Killsquad. I guess when it comes to ARPGs, I always want to see it become a big online MMO, but most of them end up just getting released, have a few updates, and then being abandoned by the developer. It just seems weird to me that no one is really chasing the Diablo/Path of Exile market of trying to be a constant updated ARPG, but to each their own. Anyways, what do you think of Killsquad? Have you played it, or do you plan on playing it? Leave a comment down below. If you like this video and want to support the channel, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for me. If you want to follow me on my social media sites like Discord or Twitter, the links are in the description. Well, that is all for this video, and I will see you all next time.